So the fifth story that I want to talk about deals with a situation that I think most of us are most likely to find ourselves in. There's, most of us are very rarely going to have to deal with a gang of racist people or, a guy on his way to shoot someone. Although, I've already had the whole gang experience, and I'm quite young, so I assume, they're not as rare as we would hope. But this situation here, as you're about to see, involves somebody, maybe it was a homeless person or somebody high, drunk, it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that they approached a person and crudely, I'm not going to say they demanded money because that sounds like give me all your money, and that's pretty clear. But this situation, rather, the person asks for money and is very persistent in their manner, physically and verbally. And I've read a lot of stories on our forum where people are standing pumping gas, almost exactly what I'm about to read, and somebody comes up and asks them, if they have any money, and when they say, either no or yeah, but I'm not going to give any to you, the person isn't just like, nuts. Well, worth a try. Talk to you later. They're a little more persistent, and obviously, as you're about to see, there's always a fallback of, if you don't leave right now, I'm going to, make you bleed with my gun. But it just seems like such a terrible way to have to deal with a situation like this. And Josh, I'm hoping, between you and Brad, we can come up with some advice for our listeners so that if this happens, they don't just have to, threaten them with deadly force. Because, I mean, honestly, once you do this, you really need to call the cops, and it's going to really be a huge inconvenience. And if this is a common situation, it's going to be a huge pain to call the cops every single time this happens and tell them that you just threatened somebody's life because they might be running away calling the cops too. So here we go. This is really short. My wife stopped at a gas station store last week, and this is not me, by the way. This is not my wife. This is somebody on the forum's wife. My wife stopped at a gas station store last week in a nicer but older neighborhood on her way back to her car, a large gentleman approached asking her for 20 bucks. She explained to him that she didn't have any money. He started getting angry and threatening. He got close to her, at this time she's at her vehicle, and reminded her that she just bought something from the store. She told him that the money she used was all she had, and at this point he started to close in on her, and she yelled at him that she had a gun and she would use it if he didn't leave. He threw up his hands and left quickly. So that's the whole story, and
Right.
I didn't read the whole thing. She didn't end up calling the cops, and there's some other tactical errors, but it's really not relevant. So what do you guys think?
In this situation, uh, it's funny because I have a way of that I typically deal with people who are asking me for money, and that is I use a pattern, which is what I was talking about earlier. Um, but I'll get into that in a second. But first, just kind of comment on what you did. I mean, in this situation, think about this, Pat. You have a wife that you love very much, and if this was her and she was coming back and she was threatened, I know if you were there, uh, I mean, you would probably be like a bulldog on the situation. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You'd make sure that the guy didn't get close, period, and that you would be protecting like with everything you had, knowing that the guy who submitted this story, knowing that his wife had a gun and knew what to do in this situation, that would be, oh God, that would just make me feel so good, you know,
Yes, yes.
because really, she did what she should have done in the situation. Now, what the problem is that most people don't know how to handle. Um, I mean, I live in New York, here for now at least, and people ask me for money all of the time in New York, all of the time. And I've tried everything I could think of. I mean, I even for a while when I was in Tallahassee, I used to live in Tallahassee, Florida, and when I was there, I was walking on the street, and this one bum would always ask me for money, and he was always really aggressive about it too. One time he asked for money. He'd ask for specific amounts. I mean, this guy here in the story was asking for 20 bucks, which is a lot of money. That's not like 50 cents. That's 20 bucks. You know,
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
who's going to give you $20? You're basically, if someone gives you $20, it's going to be because they're threatened, and you're basically robbing them. You
Hmm.
know, you are robbing them. That's what happens. So I mean, in this situation, I look at this like she was being robbed, you know,
Hmm.
because wasn't very aggressive about it, but he was robbing her. So this guy had this one really aggressive bum who would always ask me for money, And one time he'd ask for specific amounts, like 67 cents, and I'm like, I don't have 67 cents for you, man. And I've tried everything. I tried saying, I don't have any money. No, I'm not going to give you any money. Not for you. Stuff like that. And this guy, I guess the thing that was the least threatening was, I don't have 67 cents for you. But I didn't say it like that. I was like, I don't have 67 cents for you, man. Sorry. And he spat on the ground by my feet. Spat at me, but not at me in my face, just on the ground, like, angry. So next time I was walking down the street, I was like, this guy's gonna ask me like he does every single day when I walk down the street. He's gonna ask me for money, and I'm gonna do something, and it's gonna keep on going on. So this time I had a plan. So I walked down the street, and he walks up to me, and he asked me for money, and I look at him. I was a little bit younger. I was probably about 20 years old. I look at him, and as loud as I possibly can, I scream, just bloody murder. It's, ah! Like he had a gun or something. Like he was trying to kill me. And I turned and I ran the other direction as fast as I could. The opposite direction I was going. I ran away as fast as I could, and I ran a block, and I turned a corner screaming the whole time. Ah! And I turned a corner, and then I stopped screaming. I turned a corner. I was kind of laughing. I peeked around the corner, and he was standing there still in the same spot where I left him, completely bewildered. They had no idea. He had no idea what happened. And then after that, he never asked for money ever again. In fact, he left that area and didn't ask for money in that area anymore either. But
Wow.
that was pretty funny. That's obviously not what I would do, in this situation. I just thought I wanted to do an experiment. So I've tested lots and lots of stuff to see, because I hate being asked for money. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It just bothers the crap out of me when people do that. And I work my ass off for my money, and I don't have a whole lot. My family grew up in a trailer park, and come on, man. Come on. I got out of the trailer park and you're asking me for money. Get out of here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I from now on, and ever since I started learning NLP stuff, I started using what's called a pattern interrupt. A pattern interrupt is something that someone does not expect you to say. And so it interrupts what they have, which is a pattern. The pattern is they ask you for money, you say yes or no, and they give you an answer back, and you say yes or no, or you have a response and whatever, right? So they get into a pattern, just like we get into a pattern with, how you doing? Pretty good. How are you? Pretty good. How's it going? Or how's the family? Great. How's your family? Nice. Still working the same place? Yep. Me too. Cool. I'll talk to you later. That means nothing. You said nothing just now. And that's a pattern we get into. If someone says, how you doing? And you go, oh man, I have the worst. I'm constipated like crazy. They're gonna be like, what? Why would you ever tell me that? Well, because you asked me. But the problem is that they don't really want the answer. They want the pattern, And so in this situation, what I learned how to do is use a pattern interrupt that confuses them so much that I walk by and they don't ever say anything after that.
Okay.
And the pattern interrupt is always, I misinterpret it like they're trying to give me money. So I always go,
Oh.
they go, hey man, can I get $1? And I'm like, oh no, thanks man, I'm fine.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I'll even go, I appreciate it though. And I'll keep walking, and I'm smiling. Not like, haha, I just played a joke with you, but I'm like, no, thanks, man, I appreciate it. And they're like, oh, and I've had people, I swear to God, I've had people go, oh, you're welcome, man, no worries. Welcome.
Oh.
Like they were offering me money. Like they really thought they were offering me money.
They probably haven't been thanked for anything in a very long time.
Probably
I'm
not.
going to use that next
works.
time I'm downtown.
It works so well, and it works well if you look in the eyes for a second, smile while you say it, just for a second. Oh no, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I kind of put my hand up, like, oh no, I don't need any. I appreciate it, man. And very sincere, like. And then I walk past, and I haven't had that not work for me in a long time. And it's probably only a couple times that I've used it, and someone said, no, I was asking you if you could give me money. And then by that point, I'm already walked past anyway.
Yeah.
So that's what I usually do. But that diffuses the situation before you get in it, because I just don't like having to go no. And the reason why is because I don't know you. And
Yeah.
Come on, I don't need to explain that crap. I don't have time to do that anyway. Why do I need to explain it? So
The friend that I mentioned earlier who works in the coffee shop, when we used to walk around downtown, he would always explain to the guys, oh, no, I'm sorry, I only carry plastic. I don't have any cash, man. I was just like, why? Why do you waste your time explaining? They're just asking as many people as possible, and they don't care.
Another thing I
But
would do too, like in another situation. Sorry, let me interrupt
no,
you.
go for it.
Is I've said another thing that's really worked for me is I'll say no, but, and then, of course they never talk when you say this. No, but I know you're gonna find some money, and then I walk off, and then that usually works too.
Huh.
That doesn't make them as happy because if I don't think they're gonna be confused or gonna fall for a pattern interrupt, I go, no, but I'm sure you're gonna get it, man. Don't worry. That's it. So I'm giving them reassurance. That's what they're getting from me.
I
They're
like
not,
that actually.
That's
they're not getting
cool.
any money. Yeah, but I have a lot. Some people get mad. They're like, but why don't you give me some? But I'm already walking off at that point, so it doesn't really matter, you know. And so I have those are my two kind of go-tos, and they work really well. And I've even had see this guy over here, and I point and there's nobody there. Right over there, there's a guy who's going to give you money. I like make it like I can feel it. I know it. Good luck. You know. And I, as long as I'm pretty sincere while I'm doing that, and I look like I really care for a moment, then usually it's fine. But I don't like to be mean to people. I'm not like I just don't. I don't really have a. I don't want to say I don't have a mean bone in my body because it's just really hard to make me angry enough to where I will be mean. But I don't. I do feel bad for people who are in situations where they don't have any money and they need to beg. And I'm a pretty proud guy, and I would never want to be in that situation. But at the same time, so I don't want to sit around and have to answer all these because it actually makes me feel crappy for not giving them money, even though I know I probably shouldn't. So aside from all this though, this situation with the story, perfect. I think that she did exactly what she should have done. She didn't have any room to risk anything. Um, I would say if she had a taser or a pepper spray, that would probably be a more comforting thing to scream out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Besides, I have a gun and I'm willing to shoot you, which is very straightforward. But again, at the same time, it could alarm a lot of people.
Right.
But in this case, I think that might be a good thing. I think people should be looking at it. People should be seeing what's going on, and you're always going to have the bystander effect. But if you see somebody who's in danger and you have at least one leader around you, they're going to step in and help. So I think she did exactly what I want my wife to do in a situation like that.
Very good.
Joshua, this situation sort of reminds me of the one that's in the famous book by Neil Strauss,
Hmm.
where the main character is confronted by somebody who's supposed to intimidate him, like he's
Hmm.
going to fight him or something,
Oh
and then
yeah,
the
yeah.
the character responds by saying, fine, and just like flipping out and throwing stuff around his own house and saying, "Let's go, let's." He just acts insane, and the guy kind of backs down. And I always thought that was a really interesting way of
Hmm.
dealing with the situation. It sounds exactly like you're, running away screaming.
Voice streaming technique.
Yeah, have you
Yeah.
have you heard of that, like working in more situations, like
Um,
escalating so much that it freaks them out?